All right, why is it important to automate your documentation? We all know that sitting and writing a documentation is not the best or the most exciting activity in engineering, but it's very important, first of all, for the end user or for us internally, just to make sure we don't forget what we have done. And really, like in that series, if you guys noticed, I'm exploring all the activities related to knowledge base documentation because I really see where it can bring a lot of value, a lot of differentiation in the business. That's why I'm exploring it right now. There are a few use cases that I'll put in the description, but basically the idea is to tell you guys that it's really important to not just take for granted documentation, but to really own that activity as a way for you to leverage your business. So the three reasons why it's important. First of all, for time saving. When you have manual writing of documentation to do, you know that it can take an afternoon, a day, maybe a few days, few weeks sometimes. And if you have a way to take the inputs and have an automated workflow to create some output out of it, it will be really a big gain in your activity. So in order to save some time, it's important to automate your documentation workflow. Then second reason is for your own knowledge. We all know that in the engineering business, knowledge is really the core asset. And if you take the example, for instance, of your own money, maybe you have it across multiple bank accounts and you don't have access to those accounts, that means you don't have access to your money. It's the same with knowledge. If you don't have access to the places or the tool or the format where it is stored, you can already know that your knowledge is basically locked somewhere. And it's really important to be conscious on how we manage, how we version, how we store our knowledge, our documents, because it's really what makes the difference between a standard engineering approach and a really like top level engineering. So make sure you document your things and make sure the workflow for documented is automatic, because it will help you on leveraging your knowledge as an asset in the engineering business. Then the third reason important for the future, we have documented, let's say, your past activities. In the present, you already documented your activities. Then if you really want to be ready for the future, for instance, to leverage tools like AI, machine learning, you need a base, you need an input, and that input is the automated document that you will generate on a daily basis. And if you already implemented a way to take your notes into really like clear formatting and clear automated workflow, it will be better for you in the future, to speed up your engineering task and leverage tools like AI. So really important to automate that workflow for the future of your activity. Now, I will put some use cases regarding documentation in the description. Those use cases were listed by someone called Leonardo Castorina, and I thought it was really important, so you can take a look at it. And then I will tell you why I really prefer to use the format of Markdown text as my default, let's say, output for the documentation. Some people use Word, some people use HTML web pages, but in my case and in our company, we really like the Markdown, and I will tell you why. Then you can tell me in the comments what you think. First reason why we use Markdown is because text is really the format of the digital era. If you take tools like AI or even programming languages, all of those are based on text. So if you take the habit of thinking in terms of text and writing in terms of text instead of, diagrams, pictures, all of that, you really positioning yourself in the digital era, because those texts, those notes that you are taking in Markdown format will be ready to use by some advanced tool. So really make sure that it's in the text format that you are documenting your activities, because that's what we will be using now and in the future. Then, second reason why we use format of Markdown is because there is an approach which is called data first, format second. And if you take the media format, for instance, images, audio formats, even diagrams, even spreadsheets, they are all kind of locked by the proprietary format. You will need some application to open those. Instead, if you use some native Markdown text, you already know that this format can be used in any kind of application. It can be read by any kind of programming language, and therefore you really put the focus on the information which is inside instead of putting the focus on the format of that information. That's why we like the format of Markdown, because it really puts the data and the information as the first instead of just the format. Then, third reason why we use Markdown is for storage, because it's compatible with all file systems, either Windows, Mac, or Linux. For instance, if you take a tool like Obsidian, you can really just use your folders in your system, either Linux or Windows, and you already have documentation because it will be based on your own storage. You don't need something specific to one SaaS platform or one specific application software. It's natively compatible with all type of storage system. Fourth reason why we use Markdown is the versioning. You guys know that for programming or for any type of Git versioning, you will need some text, because that's what Git will analyze to process your push, pull, or merge requests. And if you have your documentation already in the format of text, then you know that the versioning will be better. You will be able to really understand like what was the history of modification in your documents. And this really brings you to the next level, because there are very few applications which provide a format which is compatible with all kind of software, and also a format which is compatible with the versioning. And natively, the Markdown text can be compatible with versioning tools, which is also a good thing. And the last reason why we prefer to use the Markdown is the interoperability. If you take all existing tools right now on the market, the main format for import and export is Markdown. And there is a reason for that. It's because it can be understood by any type of programming language. Even if you program your own Python script for exporting or importing data, you can really use the Markdown format as your central format for all the routing. You can take some Word documents, import them, and save them as Markdown, and export them as PDF if you want, or as JSON, as HTML if you prefer. But having everything centralized in Markdown is really something which can help you interact with all type of software or all type of application. So those are the reasons why we prefer Markdown. For those of you guys who are familiar with, let's say, Word's documentation, I would really like to understand why you keep using Word documents, or do you really think Word documents are the future of documentation? In my opinion, I think not. But if you guys have some other insight to share with us, it would be nice to discuss in the comments. And in the next video, as I told you, there is a series here on documentation and knowledge, because I really think it's an asset for a future-proof engineering approach. So on that series, the next video will be about like taking your email notes, your commissioning notes, and writing an automatic report, just to learn from your activity, to improve from what you noted, and to have some automatic feedback or proposal or suggestions that can tell you already like what you need to do based on what was happening before. Right, so that's about it for today, why it's important to automate your workflow and why we use Markdown to document our knowledge. Let me know what you think, guys, and we see you in the next video.